Welcome to another episode of the Bark Brigade podcast by Dogzilla Magazine.
Thanks for having me back.
So, I want you, the listener, to imagine for a second that you are walking your newly adopted rescue dog on a beautiful sunny afternoon.
Right. Just a totally normal day.
Exactly. Everything is peaceful. The leash is loose.
Yeah.
Birds are chirping. And then a man wearing just a perfectly ordinary red baseball cap walks past you on the sidewalk.
Just a totally random guy.
Yeah, just a passing pedestrian. But in a fraction of a second, your dog's entire demeanor it shatters.
Oh, yeah. Total panic.
They flatten to the ground, their eyes dilate, they begin shaking violently, and they try to, back out of their collar in sheer terror.
It's heartbreaking to watch.
It really is, because to you, it's just a guy in a hat. But to your dog, it is an absolute life-or-death emergency.
Yeah, their reality in that moment is completely different from yours.
Right. So today, our mission is a deep dive into the fascinating, sometimes heartbreaking, but ultimately uplifting science of how dogs remember trauma.
It's such a crucial topic.
It is. And the source material for this deep dive is this really remarkable article from Dogzilla Magazine by Simon Tracy. It's titled, "Do Dogs Remember People Who Hurt Them Before?"
A very heavy question, but so important.
Yeah. We all know dogs are capable of immense love, right?
Yeah.
But today, we are really unpacking the emotional depth of their memories.
Specifically, what happens when that trust is broken.
Exactly, and how we can actually help them heal. So, whether you are a seasoned rescue dog owner or just an animal lover, understanding the canine mind can totally transform the way you interact with every dog you meet.
It fundamentally changes your perspective, completely.
How so?
Well, you stop seeing a stubborn or a bad dog, and you start seeing an animal desperately trying to navigate a world that feels incredibly unsafe.
Right, because we tend to label them, don't we?
We do. But the behaviors that frustrate us the most.
Like the cowering or the barking.
Yeah, the seemingly random aggression, the destructive panic, all of that. They are rarely acts of defiance. They are profound biological responses to invisible scars.
Invisible scars. That's a powerful way to put it. Because I think a lot of us project our own human memory systems onto our dogs.
Oh, all the time. It's human nature to do that.
Right. We assume that if they act out, they're sitting there holding a grudge, replaying a movie of the time someone wronged them.
Like they're plotting revenge or something.
Exactly. But the article makes it clear we have to look under the hood at why their brain stores these memories so permanently.
Yeah. Before we look at their outward reactions, we really need to understand the architecture of canine memory.
So take us into that architecture. How is it different from ours?
Well, that distinction between human and canine memory is basically the foundation of this entire topic.
Okay.
Humans primarily rely on episodic memory for our life stories, right? We remember the narrative.
Like the who, what, where, and when.
Precisely. Now, dogs do have what scientists call episodic-like memory.
Episodic-like.
Yeah, they can recall specific past experiences to some degree. Like, they know where they hit a bone in the yard.
Or that a car ride usually ends at the park.
Exactly. But when it comes to trauma, they rely almost entirely on associative memory.
Associative memory. So, they aren't remembering a story at all.
No, not a narrative.
They are linking a specific environmental cue directly to an emotional state.
That's exactly it. They process the world through this intricate, vastly complex web of associations.
Wow.
And to understand the how, we need to look at the brain's internal alarm
The
system.
neurology of it.
Right. When a dog experiences something truly terrifying or harmful, the prefrontal cortex,
Which is the logical part, right?
yes, the logical thinking part of the brain essentially goes completely offline.
It just shuts down.
It really does. And instead, two critical structures take over.
Mm.
The amygdala and the hippocampus.
Okay, I've heard of the amygdala. That's the emotion center.
Yeah, it acts as the brain's threat detector. It's the immediate, raw emotional processor.
And the hippocampus.
The hippocampus works alongside it to basically encode the environmental context of that terror into long-term storage.
So when a trauma occurs, what is actually happening chemically? Why does that specific memory get locked in so much tighter than, say, what they had for breakfast yesterday?
It comes down to a massive chemical rush.
Okay.
When the amygdala detects a severe threat, It signals the release of this huge flood of stress hormones.
Like cortisol.
Yes, specifically cortisol and adrenaline. And these hormones serve a vital, immediate purpose, They give the dog the energy and focus to either fight for their life or run away.
The classic fight or flight response.
Exactly. But those same hormones also act as a physiological branding iron on the brain.
A branding iron. Wow.
Yeah, they strengthen the synaptic connections in the amygdala, literally cementing the memory of that exact moment.
Okay, let me make sure I'm wrapping my head around this.
Sure.
So, their memory isn't playing back a detailed movie scene of the event.
Mhm.
It's more like a giant, glowing survival bookmark in their brain.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
Yeah, a giant glowing bookmark.
The brain is literally prioritizing the storage of that specific associative memory over everything else for one singular reason.
Survival.
Survival. If you remember the precise conditions that accompanied a near-death experience, you can avoid them in the future.
It's an evolutionary mechanism. It's not malice. It's just self-preservation.
Exactly.
But, something I found really striking in the sources was how this applies specifically to human-inflicted trauma.
Yes, this is a crucial point.
Because the article suggests that a dog being hurt by a human leaves a much deeper psychological scar than, say, a dog getting into a nasty fight with another dog.
It absolutely does.
But why is that? I mean, a bite is a bite, right? A pain is pain.
Well, what's fascinating here is the evolutionary context of the domestic dog.
Yeah.
Over thousands and thousands of years, dogs have been selectively bred to form these deeply symbiotic emotional bonds with humans.
For basically their whole world.
We are. They are biologically wired to read our cues, to look to us for guidance, and to view us as their safe harbor.
Right.
So if a dog gets into a scuffle with another dog at the park, it's processed within their species-specific language.
Like a territorial thing.
Yeah, it's a territorial dispute or a hierarchy correction. It's stressful, sure, but it makes logical sense in their world.
Oh, I see. But when a human hurts them, it violates that core biological programming.
Exactly. Betrayal by a human shatters their foundational worldview.
That is so sad to think about.
It creates a state of profound cognitive dissonance. The creature that their DNA literally tells them to trust is suddenly the source of pain.
So the chemical reaction is worse.
Much worse. The resulting spike in cortisol and adrenaline is catastrophic, and the associative memory is encoded with a much heavier, more permanent emotional weight.
It breaks my heart to think about that level of betray.
It's devastating.
So now that we understand this neurological, this glowing bookmark, let's talk about what actually causes it to open.
The triggers.
Right. If the memory is associative, what environmental cues are they actually associating with the trauma?
You'd be surprised.
I would assume it's mostly visual,
Yeah.
but the source material points directly to their nose.
The power of a dog's olfactory system really cannot be overstated.
How powerful are we talking?
Well, a dog's sense of smell is up to 100,000 times more sensitive than a human's.
100,000. That is almost incomprehensible to me.
To put that into perspective, if you can smell a single drop of perfume in a small room,
Okay.
a dog could detect that same single drop in an enclosed stadium.
Oh my goodness. A whole stadium.
A whole stadium.
So if a dog's nose is that sensitive, is sent basically their very first warning signal before they even see or hear the danger.
Yes, it is their primary interface with the entire world.
Wow.
And from a neurological standpoint, it's even more direct. The olfactory bulb has a direct, almost instantaneous pathway to the amygdala.
Wait, really? Because in humans it's different, right?
Yeah, it is. In humans, most of our sensory input, like sight and sound, goes through the thalamus first.
And what does the thalamus do?
It acts like a switchboard. It filters the information before sending it to the emotional centers.
Wait, so the dog's sense of smell bypasses the switchboard entirely?
It does. It has a direct hotline right to the emotion and memory centers of the brain.
That explains so much.
This is exactly why scent is the ultimate memory anchor for them.
Because long before a person walks into a room, it's long before they speak or cast a shadow,
Yeah,
their scent precedes them.
exactly. And if a dog's associative memory linked a specific scent to a traumatic event,
Like what kind of scent?
like a specific brand of cologne or the smell of stale beer, or even the unique chemical signature of human sweat produced during anger.
Wait, they can smell the sweat of anger.
Oh, absolutely. And if that scent is linked to trauma, it acts as an unavoidable trigger.
Meaning, a rescue dog could be in a wonderful new home for years, feeling totally safe.
Completely relaxed.
But if, say, an extended family member comes over wearing that specific cologne,
Yes.
the dog doesn't think, oh, this is Uncle Jim, he's a nice guy.
Not at all.
Their brain instantly registers the scent, the amygdala fires, and they are thrust right back into the trauma.
The logical brain never even gets a chance to assess the situation.
Oh.
The olfactory trigger just throws them into a full fight-or-flight response.
That is wild. But it's not just scent, is it? Visual triggers are also incredibly powerful.
They are very powerful, yes.
The sources detail a case study of a rescue dog named Max.
Max, a classic example.
Yeah, Max was physically safe in a new home, but he consistently panicked around men wearing baseball caps.
Right.
Why a hat? That seems so mundane.
Well, Max's case is a perfect illustration of how associative memory grabs onto fragments of an experience.
Fragments.
Yeah. Max's abuser frequently wore a baseball cap. During the moments of abuse, Max's brain acted like a frantic barcode scanner.
Oh, I like that analogy.
It was taking in all the environmental data present while the cortisol was surging. So it recorded the pain, the scent, and crucially, the visual outline of the abuser.
So the hat itself became the physical shape of trauma.
Exactly. And dogs process visual information differently than we do anyway.
How so?
They are highly attuned to motion and silhouettes, rather than fine, static details.
Okay, so they aren't looking at the guy's eye color.
Right. A tall silhouette with a brim blocking out the face isn't just a clothing accessory to Max. It is the exact visual template of the threat.
That makes total sense.
The source material also notes that specific walking gaits, like a heavy stomping step, instantly trigger anxiety for the same reason.
Or people carrying long objects, right, like umbrellas or walking sticks.
Exactly.
I can completely visualize that.
Yeah.
If you've been hit with a stick, anyone holding something roughly that shape is a threat until proven otherwise.
It's just survival logic.
Okay, so we know what triggers the fear, the scent, the silhouette, the hat. But how do dogs communicate that they are experiencing a traumatic flashback?
This is a huge area of misunderstanding.
Because this is where I think a lot of miscommunication happens. People assume a terrified dog will always growl, bark, or snap.
Right.
But it's often much quieter than that, isn't it?
That is perhaps the most dangerous misconception in dog ownership.
Really?
Yes. Humans generally only recognize canine stress when it escalates to the loud, undeniable behaviors you just mentioned.
The barking and lunging.
Exactly. But long before a dog feels forced to growl or bite, they are desperately communicating their discomfort through a series of microsignals.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because these signals are so easy to miss if you aren't, like, fluent in dog.
Most people aren't.
But learning to read these tiny, almost imperceptible signs of stress is the crucial first step in preventing a full-blown fear response.
It is the only way to intervene early.
Right. If we catch the whisper, they don't have to shout. So break down these microsignals for us. What are we looking for?
Well, if a dog's trauma bookmark has been triggered, you might first notice averted eyes.
Averted eyes, like they refuse to look at you.
Yes, they will deliberately avoid looking at the trigger.
What else?
You might see a sudden tension in the jaw or a slight, rigid stiffening of their entire body.
Like they freeze up.
Exactly. Their tail might drop low or tuck tightly against their stomach.
Oh, I've also noticed dogs doing this quick tongue flick over their nose when there's absolutely no food around. Is that a signal?
Yes. Lip licking is a classic appeasement gesture.
Appeasement.
Yeah, when it's not food-related, it is a clear indicator of internal conflict and stress. The dog is trying to self-soothe and simultaneously signal to the perceived threat that they are harmless.
Wow, I'm harmless, don't hurt me. That's what that means.
Basically, yes. And another highly misunderstood microsignal is repeated yawning.
Oh my gosh, I always used to think the dog was just bored or sleepy.
So many people think that.
But a stress yawn looks different, doesn't it?
It does. A stress yawn is usually wider, more intense, and happens entirely out of context.
Right, like if you're at the vet.
Yes. The dog is physically trying to release tension from their facial muscles, while, again, demonstrating they are not posing a threat.
So if a dog is yawning repeatedly while a stranger is reaching toward them, they aren't tired.
No, they are terrified.
This makes me rethink so many interactions I've seen at dog parks.
It really changes how you watch them.
And so much of this stress response is inadvertently caused by our own human body language. The article stresses that how we carry ourselves can be a massive trigger.
It's a literal cross-species communication barrier.
How so?
Well, humans are primates.
Okay.
When we want to show affection or interest, what do? We face each other squarely, we make direct and sustained eye contact, we reach our hands outward, and we lean in.
Yeah, that's just a warm greeting.
To a human, yes. But to a dog, especially a traumatized one, virtually all of those primate behaviors are interpreted as an aggressive challenge or an impending attack.
So if I meet a nervous rescue dog and I squat down, stare right into their eyes, and reach my hand out over their head to pet them, I'm essentially doing everything wrong.
You are inadvertently mimicking the exact sequence of a predator or an abuser preparing to strike.
Oh, wow.
Direct, prolonged eye contact is deeply threatening in canine communication. Staring is a challenge.
And reaching over their head.
Standing tall or leaning forward creates a looming silhouette. It's incredibly intimidating.
So what is the right way to approach?
You must dismantle the visual shape of a threat.
Okay, how do we do that?
Avoid direct eye contact. Use soft, brief, sideways glances instead. Stand sideways rather than squaring your shoulders to them.
Okay, turn to the side.
Right. Don't hover or lean over them. If you need to lower yourself, do it slowly and never, ever reach over the top of a fearful dog's head.
Keep hands low.
Keep your hands low and let the dog dictate the distance. Always let them come to you.
To truly grasp the weight of these triggers and these subtle signals, let's look at real dogs who have lived through this.
I think case studies are the best way to understand it.
Exactly, because understanding the science is one thing, but seeing how it applies to a living, breathing animal trying to recover is profound.
It really is.
Let's talk about 3 cases from the source material: Rumi, Charlie, and Buddy.
These stories perfectly illustrate the journey from associative fear to desensitization.
Let's start with Rumi, a shepherd mix.
Rumi.
Rumi had an extreme panicked reaction to brooms. If someone simply pulled a broom out of a closet to sweep the floor, Rumi would bolt from the room in absolute terror.
Yes. The broom was the physical manifestation of her trauma.
Because her previous owners had used a long-handled broom to strike her.
Exactly.
So how did her new family undo that? I mean, they couldn't just throw away all their brooms and never sweep again.
Right, because avoidance doesn't cure fear, it merely manages the environment.
That's a great distinction.
To actually heal Rumi, her owners utilized a process called systematic desensitization.
Systematic desensitization. What does that look like?
The goal is to slowly rewrite the neural pathway associated with that object. They started by simply leaving the broom lying flat on the floor in the corner of a room.
So it wasn't moving.
Right. No one was holding it. It was just a static object at a safe distance.
So they are keeping it below her threshold of fear. She can see it, but it isn't triggering a full panic attack.
Exactly. Threshold management is everything.
Yeah.
You have to keep the brain out of the panic zone to learn.
So what's the next step?
Once she could tolerate the broom lying in the room without fleeing, they introduced counter-conditioning.
Her conditioning.
Yeah. They began feeding her meals or giving her extremely high-value treats at a distance where she felt safe, but while the broom was still visible.
They are hacking her associative memory.
They really are.
They are pairing the visual trigger of the broom with the dopamine release of getting delicious food.
That is precisely what is happening at the synaptic level.
Wow.
Over a period of weeks and months, they gradually moved her feeding station closer and closer to the broom.
Very slowly.
Very slowly. Then they moved on to holding the broom perfectly still while feeding her. Eventually, they could make small sweeping motions.
And she didn't panic.
No, because they were actively teaching her amygdala that the broom no longer predicted pain. It predicted reward.
That requires so much patience.
Immense patience.
And then there's Charlie, the beagle. His story tackles a very different kind of trauma.
Yes, a very common issue with rescues.
Charlie had severe food aggression. The moment food hit his bowl, this sweet dog turned into a snarling, protective, highly aggressive animal.
And Charlie's behavior was a neon sign pointing directly to a history of profound neglect and starvation.
Right.
Resource guarding of that magnitude isn't a personality flaw. It is a survival mechanism born out of intense scarcity.
So starvation is a trauma.
The memory of starvation is a physiological trauma just as deep as a physical blow.
Wow. Because if you've had to fight for every scrap of food just to stay alive, the presence of a full bowl triggers an overwhelming anxiety that is going to be taken away. So how do you rewrite a history of starvation? The sources talk about his new family using hand feeding. Why is that specific technique so effective?
Hand feeding fundamentally alters the dynamic of resource acquisition.
How so?
When you put a bowl of food on the floor and step back, the bowl becomes a static resource that the dog feels they must guard against all intruders.
They have to protect it.
Right. But when a family hand feeds a dog piece by piece, they become the direct, gentle providers of the resource.
They aren't the competition anymore.
Exactly. Every time the dog gently takes a piece of kibble from the human hand, a new neural pathway is being built.
I love that.
They are learning that human hands are the source of abundance, not the thieves of it.
So smart.
Hand feeding forces the dog to engage in a positive, trusting interaction in order to satisfy their survival instinct. It effectively overrides the cortisol-driven panic with the dopamine reward of nourishment and safety.
It's a beautiful way to rebuild trust. And finally, there's Buddy, the border collie.
Buddy's story is a tough one.
It really is tough to read about. Buddy was so skittish that he would submissively urinate the second anyone reached out to pet his head.
Yeah. Submissive urination is a profound stress response.
It's not a potty training issue.
Not at all. It is an involuntary reaction of the autonomic nervous system. Buddy wasn't choosing to do this. His body was reacting to absolute terror.
And it was discovered he had been repeatedly struck on the head as a form of physical punishment.
Yes.
So every time a well-meaning new owner or a friend reached out to give him a friendly pat on the head, Buddy's visual cortex saw the hand rising above his eyeline.
His amygdala fired the alarm.
Right, and his body reacted involuntarily to show absolute submission.
Exact.
How do you bring a dog back from that level of ingrained involuntary terror?
Well, the foundation of Buddy's recovery was restoring his agency.
Agency, giving him control.
Exactly. Trauma, by definition, strips a victim of their control over their environment and their own body.
That is so true.
To heal Buddy, his owners had to stop forcing interactions entirely. They stopped reaching for him.
What did they do instead?
They simply sat quietly on the floor, avoiding eye contact, and allowed Buddy to take the initiative.
They let him dictate the terms of the engagement.
Completely. And when Buddy finally took a tentative step toward them, they didn't immediately reach out and ruin that trust.
Right, because that would scare him again.
Exactly. Instead, they rewarded his bravery by gently tossing a high-value treat, like a small piece of cheese, onto the floor near him.
Oh, cheese is the ultimate currency.
It is. And they repeated this hundreds of times. Buddy learned that he could approach, get a reward, and retreat safely without a hand ever coming toward him.
They're slowly lowering his baseline anxiety.
Over weeks, as his confidence grew, they slowly introduced physical touch, but they meticulously avoided his head.
Where did they pet him?
They offered gentle scratches on his chest or under his chin.
Places that were visually far less threatening.
Yes. They completely rewired his association with human hands, proving through daily consistency that hands were for gentle scratches, not for pain.
I am just in awe of the resilience of these dogs and the immense patience of these owners.
It takes a lot of dedication.
I want you, the listener, to reflect on that for a second. It is so easy to get frustrated when a dog isn't acting normal or when they regress.
It can be exhausting.
But to undo years of violent damage with simple, repetitive, daily acts of kindness, it takes a heroic level of empathy.
It is the absolute essence of true rehabilitation.
But, while Charlie, Rumi, and Buddy had incredible owners who successfully managed their trauma at home, I have to ask, is love and patience always enough? Because we see so much DIY dog training content online. Everyone wants to be the hero who fixes the broken rescue dog with just a bag of treats and a gentle voice.
It's the cinematic ending everyone wants.
Exactly. We all want that cinematic ending. But at what point do you have to step back, look at the dog, and admit you are in way over your head?
That is a deeply important question, and it requires a level of self-awareness that can be hard to confront. Because love is foundational, absolutely. But love is not a psychological treatment protocol.
That is a harsh but necessary truth.
Sometimes the neurological imprint of fear is so deeply etched into the brain that we cross the line from standard fear into clinical territory.
Clinical territory.
Yes. We are talking about severe canine PTSD.
Wait, PTSD? Dogs can be officially diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes, they can. Dogs possess highly developed emotional centers, and their nervous systems can become just as dysregulated as a human's following severe trauma.
Wow.
When a dog is suffering from severe canine PTSD, their daily functioning is entirely compromised.
What does that actually look like in a dog? How is it different from just being scared?
You see extreme hypervigilance. The dog is never, ever truly asleep or relaxed. Their sympathetic nervous system is stuck in the on position.
Always waiting for an attack.
Always. You might see profound withdrawal where the dog completely shuts down, refuses to eat, and huddles in a corner, just terrified of the world.
That's heartbreaking.
And tragically, you see fear-based aggression where the dog is so overwhelmingly terrified that they feel a preemptive attack is their only chance at survival.
The source material introduces us to Maxie, a German Shepherd, who is a textbook example of this.
Yes. Maxie was rescued from a horrific neglect and abuse situation. His hypervigilance was constant.
But his most dangerous trigger was raised hands, right?
It was. If someone merely raised a hand to wave hello or adjust their glasses, Maxie had a massive, startled reaction that frequently tipped into a defensive bite.
And let's be real here. If you're an average owner trying to manage a powerful 80-pound German Shepherd who reacts violently to someone just lifting their hand to scratch their nose...
It's a highly dangerous situation.
Exactly. Somebody's going to get seriously hurt. Either the dog bites someone and faces euthanasia, or the owner lives in a state of constant, miserable anxiety, isolating themselves from the world.
Which is exactly why professional guidance is vital in these cases.
Because DIY can make it worse.
Trying to DIY severe trauma responses often results in well-meaning owners accidentally flooding the dog.
Flooding? What's that?
Flooding is when you expose the dog to their trigger at an intensity they cannot handle, completely overwhelming their nervous system.
So instead of desensitizing them,
you actually reinforce the trauma. You prove to the brain that the trigger is, in fact, terrifying.
Oh no. So who do you call? A regular dog trainer.
For severe PTSD, you really need a certified veterinary behaviorist.
A veterinary behaviorist. How are they different from trainers?
These are professionals who deeply understand the intricate neurobiology of fear we talked about earlier. They can design a structured, tailored plan.
Right.
They know exactly how to read those microsignals to keep the desensitization process strictly below the dog's threshold.
And sometimes behavioral modification needs a chemical assist, doesn't it?
It frequently does. A veterinarian or veterinary behaviorist can prescribe anti-anxiety medications like SSRIs.
I can hear some people bristling at that. I don't want to drug my dog into a zombie.
I hear that all the time, but that is a major misconception.
Okay, clarify that for us.
The goal of medication in these cases is never sedation. Remember earlier when we talked about the flood of cortisol and adrenaline?
The physiological branding iron.
Yes. A dog in a state of sheer chemical panic cannot learn. Their prefrontal cortex is completely offline.
So training is useless at that moment.
Exactly. The medication simply lowers that baseline level of neurochemical panic. It opens the window of tolerance just enough so that the behavioral training can actually take effect.
Oh, the medication gives the brain the breathing room it needs to form new pathways.
That's exactly how it works.
That makes total sense. So if your dog is exhibiting these extreme behaviors, getting professional help isn't giving up. It is the most loving, responsible thing you can do.
Absolutely.
Now, for you, the listener, whether you are managing a severe case with a professional team or just helping a slightly nervous rescue settle in,
Yeah.
the foundation of healing has to start with the physical environment, right?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you cannot heal psychological trauma in an environment that feels physically chaotic.
Right.
The nervous system requires absolute safety before it can begin the work of repair.
So let's provide some highly actionable advice for new adopters managing a rescue dog with trauma. How do you actually build that physical safety?
The best place to start is what the article emphasizes, the creation of a sanctuary space.
The sanctuary space, what does that mean exactly?
A sanctuary space is non-negotiable. It is not a place for punishment or timeouts. It is a designated, quiet area in your home.
Like a spare bedroom.
A spare bedroom, a quiet corner of an office, or even a wire crate covered with a blanket to create a den-like feel.
Okay.
This space must be completely free from loud noises, sudden movements, and unfamiliar people.
And the most important rule of the sanctuary space is that the dog has total control over it.
Exactly. Autonomy is the antidote to trauma.
Autonomy is the antidote. I love that.
In their past, they had no choice, no escape, and no control over what happened to their bodies. The sanctuary space gives them back the power of choice.
So if they feel overwhelmed by the television or guests or just the general activity of the house,
They know they have a designated safe zone to retreat to.
and the golden rule for the humans is when the dog is in their sanctuary, They are invisible.
Absolutely invisible. No reaching in to pet them, no staring at them, no coaxing them out.
Is their personal charging station.
Just knowing they have the option to retreat drastically reduces the intensity of their everyday stress triggers.
But safety isn't just about physical space. It's also about time, right? The structure of their day.
Routine is medicine for a traumatized brain.
Medicine.
Yes. When a dog has lived through abuse or severe neglect, their world was defined by terrifying unpredictability. They never knew when the pain was coming
Or when the shouting would start.
or when the food would arrive.
So by establishing a predictable routine, you're essentially providing them with a daily map of safety.
Precisely. Feeding them at the exact same time every morning, walking them on the same familiar route, going to bed at the same time.
It grounds them.
You are systematically lowering their anxiety. They no longer have to burn mental energy being on high alert, trying to guess what happens next.
The routine proves to them, day after day, that their environment is stable.
It does.
And this leads to the most incredible part of the neuroscience of healing. As you provide this physical sanctuary, this predictable routine, and this consistent positive reinforcement, you aren't just making the dog feel nice, are you?
No, you are doing much more than that.
You are physically changing the architecture of their brain.
This is the concept of neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
The brain is not static, it is malleable. Through consistent positive experiences, the brain literally forms entirely new neural pathways.
So they grow new connections.
Yes, these new pathways of safety, trust, and reward begin to actively compete with the old established pathways of fear.
I love this. So every time you feed them safely, every time you respect their sanctuary space, every time you don't raise your hand in anger, you are strengthening the new neural road.
And, crucially, as the dog relies more heavily on those new pathways, the old, fearful pathways slowly begin to weaken from disuse.
Oh, you are physically overriding the trauma.
Yeah.
Which perfectly answers a massive philosophical question that I hear dog owners ask all the time. Do dogs forgive?
It is a profound question, but it is loaded with human emotional projection.
How so?
We tend to view forgiveness as a grand moral choice, an active absolution of past sins.
Right. We want to believe the dog has looked into our soul and decided to grant us clemency.
Yes, but based on the neuroscience we've discussed, forgiveness in dogs isn't a moral choice at all.
It is a behavioral one.
It is entirely behavioral. A dog doesn't sit in their crate and ponder whether humanity deserves a second chance.
That's a funny image, but true.
Forgiveness in the canine world is simply the biological process of new positive associations successfully overriding the old negative ones.
It is the new neural pathway becoming stronger, thicker, and faster than the old one.
Exactly. If a dog rebuilds trust, it isn't because they decided to be magnanimous. It's because their environment consistently proved to their nervous system that they no longer need to be afraid.
You know, I actually find that incredibly comforting.
Most people do, once they understand it.
It takes the pressure off the dog to be some kind of furry saint, and it puts the responsibility exactly where it belongs, on us.
It is our job to be consistent and trustworthy enough to build those new pathways.
It is a partnership built on tangible proof of safety.
Well said.
So once we have laid that foundation of safety, once the sanctuary is built and the routine is set, and the dog is no longer living in constant fear,
Right.
how do we actively build their confidence up?
Right, because the goal isn't just surviving.
Exactly. We want them to truly enjoy their new life.
Once the baseline anxiety is managed, we move into the phase of active enrichment.
Enrich.
Enrichment is about providing the dog with safe, structured challenges that allow them to use their natural instincts to solve problems and earn rewards.
That builds resilience.
It does. It builds huge amounts of resilience.
The article gives some fantastic, simple steps for owners to do this every day, like puzzle feeders.
Puzzle feeders are brilliant. Instead of just inhaling food from a metal bowl, the dog has to manipulate a toy, slide compartments, or roll a ball to get the kibble out.
It deeply engages their cognitive problem-solving skills.
Yes, and when they successfully solve the puzzle and get the food, they experience a surge of self-efficacy.
Like, I did that.
Exactly. They learn, I have the power to impact my environment in a positive, rewarding way.
It builds their self-esteem. And what about scent games? We talked extensively about how a dog's sensitive nose makes specific scents powerful triggers for past trauma. But we can flip that script, can't we?
We absolutely can.
We can use that incredible olfactory system for healing.
Because their nose is their most powerful sensory tool, using it for fun is incredibly enriching and exhausting in the best way.
Exhausting is good for a high-anxiety dog.
Very good. You can play simple scent games like hiding high-value treats around the living room and encouraging them to find it.
How does that help with trauma, exactly?
It shifts their brain state. Instead of using their nose to anxiously scan the environment for hidden threats, they're using it for a joyful, highly rewarding hunt.
It redirects their focus.
Furthermore, owners can use positive scent association to actively overwrite fearful memories.
I really want to understand how that works in practice. Walk me through it.
Let's say a rescue dog is terrified of a specific room in the house.
Perhaps the laundry room.
Sure, the laundry room. Because a traumatic event happened in a similar space in their past. An owner can introduce a completely novel, pleasant scent into that room.
Like what?
You might use a drop of heavily diluted lavender essential oil on a cotton ball, or a specific dog-safe appeasing pheromone spray.
So you introduce this new smell, and then what?
While that new scent is present, you simultaneously provide their absolute favorite, highest value treats.
Like bits of cooked chicken or hot dog.
Exactly. And you keep the session extremely brief and upbeat. You don't force them deep into the room, you just play around the threshold.
And over time,
Over time, you are linking the new, pleasant scent and the massive food reward to the previously terrifying location.
wow.
You are literally layering a new, positive emotional context over the old, scary one, using their strongest sense to build the bridge.
You are using their own biology to heal their psychology. That is genius.
It's incredibly effective.
The sources also mention gentle agility exercises, just coaxing them over a small jump made of pillows or through a pop-up children's tunnel in the backyard.
Every time they conquer a physical obstacle, their confidence grows.
But, as we talk about all these incredible recovery tools, the article points out that we do have to manage our expectations.
Yes, that's very important.
We have to contrast the long-term benefits of consistent care with the reality of early trauma.
That is a hard truth for many passionate adopters to accept.
Tell me more about that.
Well, not every traumatized dog is going to blossom into a carefree, happy-go-lucky golden retriever who loves every stranger they meet.
Right.
The trajectory of recovery is heavily influenced by the specific timing of the trauma and the dog's own genetics.
Timing matters. You mean when the abuse happened in their life?
Immensely. Puppies go through critical socialization windows, usually between 3 and 14 weeks of age.
Okay, 3 to 14 weeks.
During this time, their brain is rapidly developing its baseline understanding of what is safe and what is dangerous in the world.
So if a puppy experiences severe abuse, starvation, or isolation during this critical window,
Those neurological scars are woven into the very fabric of their developing brain.
their brain was wired for fear from the very beginning rather than learning fear later in life.
Exactly. A dog traumatized as an adult who had a normal, safe puppyhood often has a much easier time recovering.
Because their brain already has a blueprint for safety.
Yes. A dog traumatized during the critical window lacks that foundational blueprint entirely.
And we also must factor in breed traits, right?
We have to. Genetics play a massive role in behavior.
Like what kind of traits?
Well, if you have a guardian breed, like an Anatolian Shepherd, a Rottweiler, or a Mastiff, they are genetically predisposed over centuries of breeding to be inherently wary of strangers and highly protective of their environment.
Right.
If a dog with those specific genetics suffers severe trauma, overcoming that fear is going to be significantly harder than it might be for a highly social, biddable breed like a Labrador.
Because the lab's genetics are constantly pushing them to seek out human connection and appease.
Exactly. You are fighting an uphill battle with a traumatized guardian breed.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, who might be looking at your own rescue dog right now?
It means we have to fundamentally redefine what a success story looks like.
That's a great point. Success doesn't always mean the dog loves everyone, enjoys going to crowded farmers markets, and wants to be petted by children.
Not at all.
For some dogs, success means they simply feel safe enough to fall into a deep sleep on their bed in your living room, even if they still choose to hide in their sanctuary space when the doorbell rings.
Yes. Some dogs may remember their abusers or the specific visual and olfactory triggers associated with them for their entire life.
And that is okay.
It has to be okay.
Lifelong management, meaning you advocate for them, you fiercely protect their boundaries, you don't force them into situations that terrify them just to prove they are cured. That is still a massive, resounding success.
You have given a traumatized soul a safe place to simply exist without pain.
And that raises an important point about our own capacity for empathy. Managing a traumatized dog is not a linear upward journey.
There will be setbacks.
There will be days where a random scent triggers a reaction and they regress.
Yes, there will.
But the act of creating that safe space, of respecting the dog for exactly who they are in that moment, scars and all, is one of the most profound commitments a human can make to an animal.
I completely agree. It is a testament to the absolute best parts of humanity, helping an animal recover from the very worst parts of it.
Well, we have covered some heavy, deep, and truly fascinating science today.
We really have.
We've explored everything from the chemical rush of cortisol in the amygdala to the incredible power of a dog's nose and the quiet beauty of a new neural pathway forming through patience.
The neuroplasticity is my favorite part.
It's amazing. Before we wrap up, I want to hand it over to you for one final thought to leave our listeners with, something to chew on after the show.
Sure. So this whole discussion has been focused heavily on the mechanics of fear. You know, how a dog's survival instincts force them to remember in vivid physiological detail the people who hurt them.
Right.
But I want you to consider the flip side of that neurological coin.
What's the flip side?
That same incredible associative memory, that same deep evolutionary emotional capacity is exactly what compels them to embrace the people who heal them. When you adopt a traumatized dog, you aren't just providing a house, you are offering them a completely new neurological reality. You have the power to literally rewire a damaged brain through nothing more than patience, consistency, and compassion.
That is so powerful.
Consider the magnitude of that. A dog's instinct screams at them to run from human hands, yet their incredible capacity for love eventually allows them to rest their head in your lap.
Just riding over the trauma with love.
Watching that transformation, witnessing a dog who has known nothing but pain finally exhale and realize they are safe, there is truly nothing else quite like it in the world.
What a beautiful way to bring it all together, going from a fragmented, terrifying association of fear to a clear, consistent picture of healing and trust. Thank you for listening, dear Brigadiers, and if you have any questions, visit the source article on Dogazilla magazine at dogazilla.com. That was all for this episode, and until the next time, bye to all listeners of the Bark Brigade podcast.